Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Inspired series, brought to you by the official digital technology partner of Cricket Australia, HCL Technologies. My name is Mel Jones. I'm with Fox Cricket over the summer, and when it's not summer here in Australia, I get to do some pretty amazing things like this webinar series here, talking to some of the leaders of Australian cricket. Before we begin, I would like to, on behalf of HCL Technologies and Cricket Australia, acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation here in Melbourne, and also the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation in Sydney, who are the traditional owners of the land in which we're hosting this webinar series, and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Wherever you are today, we hope you're well and safe, and you're ready to be entertained by 3 more amazing leaders within Cricket Australia. It's going to be a pretty fun tour because we're going to go from leadership in episode number 1 with our 3 captains of the Australian national teams, and we're going to talk all things the joy of cricket today. HCL is a leading global technology company that helps global enterprises reimagine and transform their businesses through digital technology transformation and empower them with the technology for the next decade today. As we dive into Australia's ecosystem of cricket, business and life through a range of personnel, including players, legends, coaches and executives. Their stories are also HCL stories. In episode 1, we spoke to the 3 leaders of the national teams in Meg Lanning, Aaron Finch and Tim Payne on the highs, the lows and the in-betweens of leadership. Today, we bring you the joy of cricket. Australia's game, the national pastime and the journey from junior cricket to the international stage. Unfortunately, I'm running solo in the studio here in Melbourne, but we are joined by 3 guests in Sydney. So without further ado, let's get into introducing our 3 guests for today. They're not just some of the most recognisable faces in Australian cricket, but also global cricket as well. And when you talk about smashing glass ceilings, you need to look no further than Alyssa Healy. Since making her international debut over a decade ago, she's been part of 5 T20 World Cup title wins, Ashes series wins home and away, and a 50-over World Cup title. Her record and standing in the game has meant that Ian Healy is now being introduced as the uncle of Alyssa Healy. A destructive opening batter in all formats with sublime keeping skills to match, Midge has been the driving force behind the on-field success of the Australian women's cricket team, an era that many would say is a golden generation of Australian cricket. And of course, who could not forget the 75 from just 39 deliveries back on International Women's Day, the day that Australia took out the T20 World Cup final at the MCG in front of 86,174 people. Alyssa, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mel.
I watched you walk out to bat with Beth Mooney, and there was a smile on your face, and I didn't know whether or not it was just like, oh my God, there's a lot of people here, or was it thinking back to your childhood dreams of going, this is exactly what I dreamt about doing?
Probably the latter. I think I never thought I'd get the opportunity to partake in something as special as that, but I'm not sure I've wiped the smile off my face since March 8, even though COVID-19 has thrown a lot of different things at us. It's you can't take the smile off my face. I'm hoping that I'll get to experience something like that again, but if not, it was a pretty special day.
Yeah, it certainly will be pretty cool. Now, we're doing social distancing absolutely perfect because sitting next to you, we have a guest who's got a couple of nicknames, but over the Australian summer, usually we hear GOAT quite a lot as well. GOAT was given to Nathan Lyon as an abbreviation of the greatest of all time when he became Australia's best ever off-spinner in Test match cricket. From being a groundskeeper to a cult figure in Australian sport, one of Nathan's most treasured roles is also leading a team song in the rooms after Test match wins, a duty passed on by Mike Hussey. Test match debut, can it start any better than taking a 5-wicket haul, including getting the legendary Kumar Sangakkara out with his very first ball? Since then, with 390 Test wickets to his name, he is now 3rd on Australia's greatest ever wicket-taking list, right behind the greats in Glenn McGrath and Shane Warne. Nathan Lyon, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mel.
Now, I've looked at Aaron Finch, David Warner, Steve Smith, have all got on social media over this time of COVID. They've done TikTok, they've done all this kind of stuff. You, I have not seen too much of. Are you just laying low, ready just to burst out with something big in the coming weeks?
That's absolutely perfect, Mel. I'm not embarrassing myself like David Warner has over the last little bit. I can't stop. I haven't watched one of his TikToks, I don't think, so it's been pretty embarrassing, to be honest.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that we won't embarrass you today either. Last week's guest in Tim Payne was the youngest ever contracted player at a state level. We now have with us the youngest ever Australian contracted player in Pat Cummins. Pat burst onto the scene as an 18-year-old in 2011, skittling a star-studded South African lineup, taking 6 for 79 and hit the winning runs in an absolute nail-biter at the Wanderers in Johannesburg. The euphoria of his Test debut was overshadowed by the following years in an injury wilderness, with almost 2,000 days passing before he got another chance to play Test match cricket. Since then, though, he has been the mainstay of the Australian team, awarded the vice-captaincy across all 3 formats, the Allan Border Medal in 2019, and is one of the most exciting talents in world cricket. Pat, thanks for joining us. Also in Sydney, you haven't gone back bush?
No, not this weekend. How are you going, Mel? Thanks for having me.
I'm very well. Now, talk to me, put your ambassador hat on for Mittagong, because a lot of people won't know, number one, where it is or what it's got to offer as well. Spruik it for us.
Well, I might go the opposite direction. Don't come. Like, it's awful. I don't want to be down there. It's too quiet. The grass is too green. People are too friendly, so don't come. It's awful.
I see what you're doing there. Okay. Sounds like an absolutely beautiful spot of the world. Okay, we're going to get straight into things, guys, because I've got quite a few questions to roll past you about the joy of cricket, and I know we want to give some time for our viewers also to roll in their questions as well. I'm going to start with the obvious one, I guess, is what drew you to the sport of cricket, or even I could say, what's your earliest memory of cricket? Nath, I might start with you.
My earliest memory would be in the backyard with my older brother. Obviously, from a young age, he started throwing balls at me and I had to learn how to catch and throw them back. And my first game was actually against Brendan and his team. My dad actually packed my whites in the bag and I was only about 7 or 6 or 7 playing against in the under 9. So I remember bowling, I think my brother's best mate, Damien Major at the time, out, and that was my first ever wicket. So that's my first ever memory, yeah.
Does it help having an older sibling playing the game as well? Because you've got to sort of stand up quite quickly as a youngster.
Oh, 100%. You've got to learn how to win the fights in the backyard, I guess. So that's where my arms come from. Probably throwing lemons at my brother, to be honest. But just my technique as well has probably helped me grow to where I am. I can't bat at the moment, but back home I can. If you play a little sweep shot, you get a little 4 runs. So that's probably why I play the sweep shot every chance I get.
You've got Alyssa Healy sitting next to you. Midge, what's your earliest memory or your fondest memory?
Funnily enough for me, I fell into the game of cricket. Obviously, with the last name Healy, everyone assumes that it was the natural choice, but I didn't want a bar of it. I actually got brought along with a friend from school to the local park where we tried what was Kanga cricket back then. It's now the T20 Blast, and I hated it. I spent the whole time in the sandpit instead of actually learning the game of cricket, but with Dad's persistence, I stuck with it and ended up joining the local club from there, and obviously played a bit in the backyard, but I didn't really want to play cricket. I was heavily into every other sport, and fortunately or unfortunately for me, I found out that I could play the game and sort of got stuck with it from then and there.
So can you remember what the turning point was if you didn't really like backyard cricket, but then all of a sudden there must have been some little key there that switched on the light for you?
Well, funnily enough, I started out as a fast bowler in under 9s or 10s when we played averages cricket, and all I really wanted to do was be a fast bowler, and week 3 I got thrown the gloves. It was my turn. And unfortunately in week 4 I had to go up and keep in the under 11s because the boy that was supposed to be keeping was away on holidays, and was my opportunity as a young 9-year-old girl going out there in the under 11s. And I think a couple of overs in, one of my good mates now bowled a bouncer which was in those days not really a bouncer, and he hit me straight in the head behind the stumps. And I think I was hooked from then on in, which sounds really bizarre, but I knew I was in the thick of it, and just ran down the other end and kept going. So it was, I think I was destined for the wicket keeping.
Okay, so from a potential fast bowler to an actual fast bowler, Pat, what was your first memories of cricket for you?
Mine was probably similar to Lino. I've got 2 older brothers, a couple of years older, and then Matt's 6 years older. So basically as soon as I could walk, they were already playing backyard cricket, and I'd try and follow behind them and have a bowl and a bat. My dad loves cricket, always has loved cricket. So summer for me meant playing backyard after school every day, whenever we got a chance in holidays. And whenever there was cricket on, we'd sit around the TV and watch it and talk about it.
We've done a little bit of digging now that you guys have mentioned your first moments of cricket, and we've come up with 3 photos that probably, I think, match exactly what you have just said at the moment. Now, the first one is of Nathan. Now, he said he had an older brother, so he probably had to bowl a lot, which is typically what happens in backyards. I'm not too sure if we've got that photo to pop up. There we go. Now, Nathan, just talk us through this. The arm looks like it's probably got a little bit more than 14 degrees in it there.
Yeah, and a few blonde locks as well, which they've gone missing over the time, just playing around with Pat too much, I think. But yeah, the arm a little bit bent there, but I had to try and land on that concrete to get a little bit of spin. So
I like it. Now, seeming that Pat was giving a bit of cheek there over that overlay, we'll go straight to yours, Pat. Let's have a look at your backyard memories. What is going on here? Yeah,
well, why I chose this one was, you can't really see, but this is our backyard setup. We had a pretty good length pitch, but we were out there rain, hail or shine. So this was, I think Saturday cricket had been called off, and we went down there. It was a mud bath within 10 minutes. But we used to have an oldest brother bowl. There I am batting, my middle brother keeping behind. And that was our setup. We had the shed, we had the trampoline behind us. So if you nicked off, automatic wicket keeper. Loved it. But that's where when I think back to my childhood, I spent so many hours out there.
Okay, we're going to come back to favourite backyard rules in a second. I will go to the third photo though. Now, Midge, you mentioned that you weren't overly a big fan of backyard cricket, so we're going to go straight to some senior rep cricket, I think, for you. Straight to the big time. Which one, where are you playing here?
This was the team that I was talking about. This is the Carlingford Waratahs Cricket Club where I grew up playing. Obviously, in that photo I had long pants on. I used to wear the short little white shorts and get around in them. There was no diving for me. It was not the sport for me. But that's me, proud as punch with my wicket-keeping pads on and short sleeves. I was rocking that way back in the day. But there I am. I still keep in contact with that club. I was made a patron of the club 2 years ago and get to go back and visit them all the time. So it's a really special connection.
Short sleeves for a wicket-keeper. It's not the done thing, is it?
Yeah, look, I don't think we had a lot of choice back then. I think it was short sleeve or short sleeve. So lo and behold, I didn't know that I was going to give so much stick to all the other keepers around the world, 20 years on. But look at me, I was rocking it early.
Okay, let's go to favourite backyard cricket rule. I played a lot of backyard cricket myself, and we had 2 in my grandparents' backyard in Rutherglen. The first one was if you hit Par's prized chrysanthemums, you're automatically out. But if you hit Nan's chooks in the chook shed, which was on the hook shot, which probably explains a lot of my hooking, was pretty bad, you were out for the summer. Pat, I know, yeah, it's the summer. Don't mess with Nan's chook shed. Pat, favourite backyard rule?
My favourite rule was probably, so we had obviously neighbours either side. They both had dogs. We didn't have any dogs. But if you hit the ball over the fence, you're half out. So the first time was like a warning. Second time, you're fully out. But if you were too scared to go on the first time out, that counted as a full out, which was great because my oldest brother, Matt, he's really scared of dogs. So whenever he went over, he was fully out because he's never game enough to jump the fence.
Rightio. Does he have dogs now?
Does not have dogs, still terrified. He's 33 years old.
Okay. Nath?
I'm pretty similar to Paddy, but as a spin bowler, if I got hit over my head, I used to either get the shits and go inside or try and tell Brendan he was out. So 6 and out for me is my favourite rule in backyard cricket.
Okay, and that's why you keep the ball on the ground so much these days, is it?
Yeah, 100%.
Midge?
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit different. I didn't have any older brothers to play with, so we had some family friends that I played with, and they had a really narrow driveway with their garage right at the end, and playing with 3 older boys, my favourite rule was one hand, one bounce, or one hand off the shed and out, because then I'd finally get a bat. So my least favourite rule was 6 and out, because it'd take me 3 balls to hit it over the fence, and then I was fielding again for the rest of the day. So the one hand, one bounce was definitely the favourite.
Okay, each of you have just sort of explained how you've come into cricket in different ways, and you've probably stayed in the game in a variety of different ways as well. Alyssa, I'll start with you. Your family are predominantly all cricketers. You're now married to another Australian cricketer in Mitch as well. How do you find, is it a tough balance with so much cricket around you all the time just to keep the enjoyment factor going along?
Not really. I think I still love the game of cricket. I love watching cricket. I enjoy talking about cricket. It's not as enjoyed on the other side of in our household, but I just enjoy the game, and I think there's so many new opportunities within cricket now, especially in the women's game, that keep you energised. I think there's new competitions popping up all around the world. There's new opportunities to play in front of 87,000 people. So there's always some new things that keep it fresh. But like I said, I really enjoy the game of cricket, and whilst I get a little bit tired playing it sometimes, I think it's just a great game to be involved in, and one that you can play for a long period of time.
Nath, you've played in it and you've worked in it as well, and I'm not saying work is playing it by any stretch of the imagination. I'm talking about when you were a groundskeeper. So between those two, did you find that you were enjoying the game in a different type of way from work to play?
Oh, 100%. Looking back at my curating days, I actually really enjoyed it. It probably drove my mates at the time nuts, because we would go to the pub and watch an AFL, and I'd just comment on if the grass was cut in straight lines, or pick up all the defects if the grass weren't in the right way, or that didn't look healthy. So obviously I enjoyed that part of it. But now playing cricket, I think my enjoyment for cricket is unbelievable. I love the game, and I love seeing my mates do well, and that's probably one big reason why I'm still playing the game.
Is there a little bit of OCD, am I hearing, about you then, if you like nice straight lines?
When I was working, there would have been, yeah, but those days are long gone now.
Okay. Pat, for you, we mentioned in your intro that there was a large chunk of time where you were out with injury. How do you keep the enjoyment going then, when it would have been exceptionally frustrating that all you wanted to do was get out on the park and play?
It's certainly easy to enjoy cricket when you're playing it. And yeah, for the 4 or 5 years where I didn't really play cricket during the Australian summer, that was the first time in 20 years that I didn't spend my summer playing cricket. So it was frustrating, but the reason why most cricketers will say they love cricket is because we get to hang out with our best friends all the time. It's a funny sport that even in the middle of the game, we're out on the field and you get to chat to your mates. So I just try to look at it like that. I used to enjoy coming into training, being around the New South Wales side or even the Aussie side when they were in town, and still just hanging out with mates. So I feel like that's, half of cricket. So I still got to enjoy quite a bit of it.
Cricket is a team sport, we all know that, and I think on a whole, Australians love being involved in some sort of team sport across the summer or the winter. I think the unique part about cricket, though, it is, even though it's a team sport, it's still a very individualised sport. I'd love to get from each of you, and we might start with you, Pat, what cricket's taught you, both from the team perspective but also as an individual.
I think with anything that you enjoy and you're passionate about, you've got to try and improve and get better every single day. I think as soon as you lose that, you find getting out of bed harder for that thing. So for me, I want to improve. I want to do well for myself, set high standards, and that's what gets me out of bed every morning to try and be better. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. What matters is you're enjoying it, you're spending your time with great people, you're learning, and you're just having great experiences. So I like that those two really cross over. It feels like there's a really big self-improvement purpose to playing cricket, but the enjoyment's great. So don't feel like I have to sacrifice anything.
Midge, you've been part of a New South Wales team and an Australian team that have been exceptionally successful over the time that you've been playing the game. That must help the enjoyment factor?
Yeah, obviously winning is enjoyable, and I've been really lucky that throughout my career I've played in a lot of successful teams, and I haven't had to deal with too many huge losses, which sounds bizarre, but it's the truth. So yeah, that makes it fun. But I agree with Pat that the self-improvement part of the game is so unique to our sport, and ultimately if you do your job to the best of your ability, it'll help the team's success. And I think that's that's what great teams are all about. Yep, they're a team, they're all working together, but individually, everybody's doing their job to the best of their ability. And I think that's something that, the Australian women's team at the moment are doing really well. Everyone's playing their role, everyone's doing their job as well as they possibly can, and it means success, and it's very enjoyable, let me tell you.
Nath, we mentioned in the intro, greatest of all time. When you get a tag like that, I know it doesn't probably sit well with you, but we've spoken about the enjoyment factor of improving all the time. What's been your biggest learning from the game?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mel. Obviously, the tag doesn't sit well with me, but it's stuck, so we're just going to play on with it. But the brilliant thing about cricket, in my eyes, is that I'll never conquer the game of cricket, and I don't think anyone will. There's always room for improvement, unless you're Pat, being the number one bowler for the last 4 years in a row and like the number one player in the world. I think everyone else won't conquer cricket at all. So I think there's a lot of learnings that you can take out of that, but you're always looking to improve as well. But improvement on the field and off the field, and wanting to be good people. And we're very lucky in our situation that we're able to actually go out and be really good role models. And that's one big learning curve for me, I guess, is that we're always on show and that we can be role models to young boys and girls, and even up to grandparents. We can always look for improvement in all different areas.
Pat, do you want right of reply there? Do you want to have a go? Or do you want to get him back later on?
No, that was good. I agree.
That's good. Each of you have got specialised roles within the team as a skill set, but you've also play other roles as well. And I'm keen to get, we'll drill into the individual ones in a second, but I'm keen to get your thoughts on how that just helps energise you and keep that enjoyment going along. Alyssa, obviously you're the wicket keeper for the Australian women's cricket team. You're also the opening bat. You're some like to say that the wicket keepers are sort of the energiser bunny, a little bit gobby and mouthy behind the stumps, trying to keep everyone up and about. Does that role help you keep engaged in the game as well?
First of all, that's a complete myth, Mel, that we're mouthy behind the stumps. I don't know where you've found out that information, but
it was just in my notes.
Yeah, look, it is. My role within the side is to be the energizer bunny, and buzz about and lift the morale of the group. And I think, in particular, in our Aussie side, we've got a really quiet, shy group of people who play exceptional cricket. Don't get me wrong, but they're quite quiet. So for me, it's my job to bring them out of their shell a little bit. Make sure that they're showing that they're enjoying themselves, and often that brings about their best performance. So I really enjoy that role. I think it took me a while to stop being a moody teenager and actually just embrace that role and go out there and try and make everybody enjoy their day, because ultimately, like Nathan said, it's our job, and 75% of people out there don't like their jobs, but we absolutely love it, and each and every day we go out there, we need to make sure that we're enjoying it. So I love that role. I'd like you to just note down as well that I am also the chief net bowler of the side. So if you could just add that'd be great.
Chief net bowler.
Net bowler,
okay, done. And if you could get any wicket, or the constant wicket that you do get in the Australian team is who?
Elise Perry, and I have got Lisa Stalaker out in a grade game, so note that down too.
Done. I'm going to get RSI by the end of this. Nathan, we spoke about leading all-time off-spinning wicket taker in Test match cricket, but also leader of the team song post-Test match. What did that mean to you when Mike Hussey passed that mantle over?
To be honest with you, it was probably up there with one of the proudest moments of my career. And I know as soon as Pat gets the opportunity to speak here, he'll talk about how nervous I get when I about to lead the team song, but that's purely down to the fact that I want to make sure that everyone who's a part of that, part of our side and coaching staff included, that we're making that a very special moment. And you never know, it could be the last Test win that you may ever achieve. So I want to make sure it's very special and make sure we're able to point out the special performers like Pat every second week, so it's pretty special. I was up there with the proudest moment of my career when Mike gave me the handwritten letter to say that you're taking over the song, so which was pretty special.
And of course, it goes on singing ability as well, doesn't it?
No, I wouldn't say that, no.
No, okay. Pat, you've been given the mantle of vice captain across all three formats. That's another leadership role for you. Does that, I suppose, enhance the enjoyment, or does it sometimes get a little bit stressful, the fact that you've got that leadership tag as well?
I think it enhances the responsibility. I'm not sure it enhances enjoyment, but it's been nice. It's been a bit of a change. All these things that I'd never really thought about. That now you're kind of part of that conversation, but it's really good. To be honest, it's a really good, really easy job. We've got a great bunch of guys around our squad. Painey and Finchy, the two captains, are brilliant. So just try and help them out where we can. But it's good. I feel like when we're a settled side and everyone's been, played quite a bit of cricket, everyone kind of knows how to get the best out of themselves and wants to do well for the team. So my job's pretty easy.
I know when you're out in the field, you're focused on the game at hand, but it's hard not to look around and see the amount of kids and young people getting engaged in the game, and what kind of role you play in inspiring people to play the game. Nathan, I might start with you, because I've seen you at the All Abilities carnivals around Australia. I know it's holds a special place in your heart as well. How important is it that people see cricket more than just the national side and see that it really is a game for everyone to get involved in?
Oh, it's extremely important in my eyes. It just proves that cricket is a sport for all, and no matter sexuality, race, whatever your disabilities or whatnot, it just proves that you can go out there and enjoy the game of cricket, and it is a sport for all. I do love going down to the disability carnivals down in Geelong. That's one of the highlights of my year every year, and hopefully this year that we're able to, with all the, hopefully COVID's over and done by the time we get around playing, but it'll be amazing to get a few of those sides around, if we're able to, around the big boys, and so they can come and meet the heroes like Pat and Starkey and everyone else like that. So yeah, I really enjoy it, and as I said before, I think we've got an unbelievable opportunity to be incredible role models for everyone.
Midge, I think in the past we've often talked about the Australian women's cricket team and the players being role models for the next generation of young girls. I think what I've noticed though is, particularly going to the WBBL games, is just the young girls but also the young boys as well. So they'll just grow up knowing that cricket's for cricket, cricket's for everyone. How big a role and how much, I suppose, time and effort do you put into that role model and role modelling of good behaviours for the youngsters?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's time and effort. I think it's just about who you are and the person that you are. I think naturally what we're doing out there is really meaningful, and I guess that comes back to the enjoyment piece that we were speaking about before. Why I am enjoying my cricket at the moment is it's so much more than just the game of cricket at the minute. I feel like we're changing the game for women's sport in this country and across the world as well, and I think it just feels like we're a part of something really special. And like you mentioned, the WBBL has been such a great place for us to showcase our skills here domestically, and also an opportunity for the international players to come out and play in this country and get to play in some of the best conditions, and to see the lines of young girls and young boys lining up at the fence wanting signatures at the end of the game brings a real smile to your face, and it feels like it's a bit of a social change, not just a great thing for cricket. So for us to feel like we're a part of that's something bigger, a bigger movement, I think it is really exciting, and it's really pleasing to be a part of.
Pat, I'm not too sure age-wise, when you started coming through, were you about having the selfie with your hero, or was it all about the autograph?
Autographs.
Autographs, yeah.
No selfies. Yeah, probably just about when I started. But yeah, I remember going as a kid, Mum took me to a couple of Sheffield Shield games and getting an autograph. And
when you got your autograph, who are you after? Were you after the fast bowler, and do you now sort of see yourself there giving selfies now to the youngsters in the field, thinking, well, this selfie or this autograph could be the next fast bowler for Australia?
I think Brett Lee was the one I was after the most, and it got his. Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I guess we travel the world now. We play in big stadiums, and it feels different to what we were doing as kids. And then suddenly you see someone on the side of the field playing, cricket, or you drive past an oval and see an under 10 side playing cricket, and it feels like it was only yesterday that, you know, I was the person out there playing that. So it's great hearing the stories of kids, what makes them excited about cricket. It's the same thing that made me excited, and it's a good reminder for us to keep perspective. So, yeah, it's great.
Mel, I remember you signing a poster for me. I don't know if you remember that moment, but I came into the change room at
Probably only signed
at
two.
Bankstown Oval when you guys were playing New Zealand, playing for Australia, and I came in the change room, got brought up there, and you signed my poster for me. I don't think you remember that, but I do.
Is that now a dartboard in your pool room?
No, I think it's framed. It might be in storage, but it's framed somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually, funnily enough, I do remember because I didn't sign a lot back in the day. We're going to have to dig that one out at some stage just for proof, at least for my mum. Okay, done. So we've already had a quick chat to Nathan about his ability to get into TikTok at some stage. Midge, golf was shut down for a while. I know it's now back open. Was that a relief for you when COVID and lockdown was over?
Well, funnily enough, Zara, that being a cricketer during isolation has been an absolute dream come true. I think most will attest to this, that we're so busy, we tour a lot of the year, in particular the boys, that just a forced break for us was actually really nice. I know that it hurt Pat's hip pocket not going to the IPL, but I think it was just a nice break. And fortunately for me, being in Sydney, the golf courses didn't shut, so I've been playing golf for the last sort of 8-12 weeks non-stop, so I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
And has the game got better?
More complex. As when it gets better, it gets more technical, so I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Okay, I heard you just off camera chatting all things golf to Nathan before. Nath, how's your golf going? Has that been your go-to in these times?
Josh Hazelwood and myself have joined a club out up here at home here, so it's been quite challenging. I'm not the greatest. I tend to think I'm Tiger Woods a little bit and try and go the Tiger line, but I've enjoyed getting out there and walking the course every Tuesday, so can't complain really.
Have you gone to anything else? I know sourdough, baking, cooking has been a big thing for a lot of people.
No, well, I had my two daughters for a few weeks. I've been a school teacher for a little bit, so I can absolutely guarantee I'm not becoming a kindergarten or a year one teacher.
Right, homeschooling. So if anyone else in the Australian setup is having issues with their kids and homeschooling, they can...
Just go to David, it'll be on TikTok somewhere.
There we go. Fair enough.
Did you learn quite a bit homeschooling your 7-year-old?
I can count to 10 now, Pat.
Sorry, Mel.
No, you're it's quite entertaining for me as well. What have you been up to in Mittagong?
I can sadly say that I have actually attempted sourdough a few times.
See, it's the starter that's the tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, I got given that, which helped. But yeah, a new appreciation for bakers. You probably spend more than $4 trying to get a loaf up of sourdough as well. It's a lot harder.
I think you'll be right, mate.
I think it's been good. Like the first few months was, a bit of a challenge to adjust. But like Alyssa said, it was after a long summer of cricket. So us cricketers were a little bit luckier than other sports in that we'd got through kind of our busy time, and the break probably came at a decent stage for us. And in the last 6 weeks, we've been able to train back here in Sydney with the New South Wales side. So it's felt relatively normal other than not being on the road.
Our next question is from Suriname, and I was hoping that this was going to be in Pat's highlights when we introduced him, but if people can cast their minds back to the Indian Test match series here in Australia a couple of summers ago, it was the run out of Pujara. So the question is, well, first of all, it was amazing. The question is, how did you do it?
Fluke.
Well, Mel, I think I better set the stage a little bit for this one.
Go for it. The stage is yours.
So it was, what do you reckon, Gaz? About 45 degrees? It was a hot and...
41. 41.
At least. I think I had bowled 22 overs.
On the trot.
And, the rest was a complete fluke. I knew he was going to go for a quick single because he's batting with, I think, number 10 or 11. So I was kind of ready for it, and then he hit it, and the rest, I don't know, just happened. Give me another 1,000 goes of that, and I probably won't hit it again.
That was the only way we're going to get Pajara out, though.
He did bat for a long part of that summer, didn't he? when something like that happens on the cricket field, is that part of the game, and this is for anyone, please jump in, that you can go back to whether or not it's backyard cricket or club cricket, it's just that pure enjoyment of someone doing something magical that just makes playing the game so enjoyable?
Oh, 100%. But the only thing is, when playing on the international stage, Pat has got up to 100 replays, and he's all sent us about 70 copies on WhatsApp of it. And that night he probably sent about 50 just there and then. So that's probably the only difference between international cricket and club cricket. But the feeling of doing something special and your mates doing something special, it's pretty amazing, to be honest.
So what he's saying, Mel, is he gets to appreciate it even more.
Yeah. But that's the value of social media at the moment, in that, you know, you're getting footage of club cricket all around the world and people doing some spectacular things, and I think that's it really is a sport for all when you watch that and you see that there's guys not playing cricket for their country but doing some exceptional things. I think that's really cool to watch.
But it also works the other way. When you drop a run out in the Ashes, you get tagged in that every day in social media. So I'd like to thank the Barmy Army for that.
Nath, we were not going to mention, Tim Payne mentioned Headingley last week. We weren't going to mention it at all. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, perfect.
It's been blanked out of everyone's mind, so it doesn't matter. It's gone.
Heading what? Yeah, gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
This one is for you, Midge. This is from Deirdre. Who's a better cricketer? You, your dad, or your Uncle Ian?
Oh, that's a great question.
I mean, for some people who don't know, well, some might not even know Ian, go through what your dad has done and your uncle as well, and set the scene for us.
Yeah, obviously with the last name Healy, my uncle Ian played for Australia for a long period of time. He kept to Shane Warne pretty much his whole career, so he got gifted dismissals left, right and centre. But my dad, Greg, I think he never played for Queensland. I think he played underage for Queensland, but went into the business world, took that path instead. But obviously a heavily cricketing family. I was sort of destined for the game, but and the answer is who's better. I'm going to try and be really humble here and say my dad. I actually think that from what I hear, and I hear lots of stories now, that my dad was he was an all-rounder. So I think he was the best out of the family members that just never made it.
Wow. Okay.
But I obviously think myself, so you know.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that. Nathan, you would have seen particularly Ian playing quite a bit of cricket growing up, and you would have seen Alyssa as well. Do you think she's being too humble here?
Well, I'm not that old. I know I look at Mel, but I'm not that old.
No, just watching on TV. Come on now.
She said growing up.
But growing up.
Growing up.
Obviously, the only big difference between Ian and Hilzo is that Alyssa doesn't play a walking cover drive with the foot in the air. That's about it. So, I'm looking forward to the day that Alyssa comes down and tries to keep to me. So it's going to be good fun.
Okay. Never happened before.
I've batted with you down the other end, but I've never kept to it. So that's next on the list.
I'm going to jump in here with probably my own personal question, because I was lucky enough during the the Bush Appeal game, the Bushfire Appeal game, if I can spit that out, that Nathan, I saw you bowling to Brian Lara in the nets. I don't think I've seen anyone so excited to be bowling to someone before. Just talk us through that moment.
So obviously the Sixers, we won the Big Bash final here the night before, and then I jumped on the plane the first thing Sunday morning, I think it was, and went down there because I was meant to be a part of it here, and I just wanted to be around those guys and learn. And as soon as I was throwing balls to, I think I was throwing at the start to Hads and Punter, and then Brian came up and said, he goes, if I put my gear on, will you bowl properly to me? So, and I absolutely jumped at the opportunity. And to be honest, he's the first left-hander that's hit me over cover quite easily. So it was pretty amazing to actually just sit there and watch him back close up. Like, I idolised him when I was a kid growing up. I thought he was absolutely amazing, playing against Warne and just hearing the stories about Brian Lara was absolutely incredible. So to have the opportunity to bowl to him for 45, I was more than happy.
Pat, have you ever had that opportunity of bowling to someone that you grew up idolising?
I think I played Sachin Tendulkar once, just in a T20 for a couple of balls. It was probably more playing alongside someone like Ricky Ponting, even Mike Hussey, guys that I'd been watching for basically my whole life and idolising, and then suddenly I was sharing a change room with them and going out to dinner with them. That was the weirdest thing for me.
We've got a question in here from Viraj. After playing cricket, look, we'll say roughly 15 to 20 odd years, does cricket lose some of its innocence? And the question is, how do you maintain the love of the game when you're in it so often? Midge, you sort of we spoke about it earlier on in the webinar. Has it lost some of its innocence when it becomes a little bit more of a business?
Yes and no. I think it could be perceived like that, but I think for us individually, it's about finding what we enjoy out of the game and keeps it fresh. And like I mentioned before, that there's so many new exciting opportunities within cricket that come up, every couple of months, that it keeps me energised and wanting to play the game. And obviously I'm playing with my mates and I'm travelling the world, and that's the most amazing job in the world, but it's still a job, and you've got to find little ways that you can work around that and make sure that you're still enjoying it. And like I said, those little opportunities and just the feeling of we're a part of something so much more than just a game of cricket, I think keeps us entertained and keeps us wanting more, I suppose.
We mentioned the game at the MCG. I mean, it was magnificent with the people there, the sort of Katy Perry, all those sorts of things going on around it. How do you then, when you talk about there's more exciting things coming up, is something like a women's IPL, is that sort of the next thing on the horizons that could get you quite excited?
Yeah, most definitely. I think, to see the success of the Indian women's team over the last, I think at least 3 years, but I think definitely over the last 18 months, to see that they're producing some real depth within their side, some absolute superstars of the game at 17, 18, 19 years of age, I think is so exciting for the game of cricket. So I'll definitely stick my hand up and want to be a part of a women's IPL. I got the taste of it a couple of years ago playing in the exhibition games, and to play alongside some of the girls that you don't often get the opportunity to was an amazing experience. And I think that is the next step, and hopefully we can see it in the not too distant future.
Pat, what excites you about the future of cricket that keeps you energised?
Oh, there's so many things. Growing up, 2020 cricket wasn't a thing till I was probably 12 or 13, and 10, 15 years later now it's up there with one of the most watched parts of a lot of fans only like T20 cricket, or a lot of kids. It's basically a whole new sport, so you never know what the next little bit's going to bring. For me personally, my career, I look at someone like Ricky Ponting or Glenn McGrath, or the guys that played for so long and were part of 10 Ashes series and World Cups, and for me, I feel like haven't even done 10% of those things. So there's so much that excites me coming up.
We've got another question through from Sidhu Johnny here. What was the turning point of your life that made you realise that cricket was for you? Nath, was there a moment where you just sort of went, I'm good enough here, this is exactly what I want to do as a full-time career?
I've probably had a little unique way or journey to get to the Australian cricket team. Obviously, working at Adelaide Oval, or started at Monica, but I spent many hours on the mower or on the roller watching the state guys and international teams run around, and I just always used to dream from a young age all the way up to when I was able to receive my baggy green of playing cricket for Australia. So I think once I got that phone call to say I was going to Sri Lanka on my first test tour, I thought, this is what I want to do, and this would be a dream come true if I was able to receive a baggy green on this tour. So I was pretty fortunate and pretty unique way of getting there, I guess.
Midge, it was probably slightly different on the women's side of things, because you sort of went through the amateur to semi-professional. Was it when there was full-time contracts that you actually thought, yep, this is it?
Yeah, a little bit, and I guess differently to to Nathan, I never really dreamed of playing for Australia. I didn't really know that I could. I suppose growing up, when I first started playing, I only saw the Ricky Pontings and the Steve Wars and the Ian Healys on the TV, and I never really thought I would be able to achieve that. Even though I thought I was one of the boys playing alongside them, I knew that I could never do that. So I never really dreamed of playing for Australia. It was only when I got given my cap that I thought, oh, maybe I could do this. Maybe this could be a career. But look, I've sort of been through all the different stages of the game, and I suppose that over the last 3 years, it's really become a reality that, you know, we can do this for a living. It can be a career, and it can be an extended career if you really want to. I just assumed you'd have to retire at 30 and go and start your life. That's what I felt when I first started playing for Australia, but now it's completely changed, and the opportunities are endless for the young girls that are playing the game at the minute.
Nearly all of you mentioned that moment when you received your baggy green. I just quickly want to go through each of you and just go back to that moment, because we know how special a moment it is. Midge, we'll start with you. Who passed on your baggy green, and can you remember how it made you feel? Yeah,
I got given my baggy green by Quentin Bryce, who was the Governor-General at the time of Australia, which was a unique choice, I would think, to get given your baggy green, but a very special one nonetheless. And it was at home at Bankstown Oval, playing in a one-off Ashes test, as we do, and just a really special moment. I got to debut alongside 4 others, like we tend to do in the women's game, because the test matches come few and far between. So it was a special day. We won the test match, which was even more exciting. And I remember being front and centre in the photo after, even though it was my first game. I was front and centre holding the trophy with Alex Blackwell. So it was just a really enjoyable 4 days of cricket that all my family, including Mitch, got to sit there and be a part of. And the best part about it was after the first day, I had my cap and I said to him, "Oh, here, do you want to try this on?" Because I got my cap first. And he said, "No, I want my own." And then he debuted, I think, a couple of months later. So it was, it was just a really special day.
But you did get it before him. Let's just make that clear.
Yeah, I had to drop that in, didn't I? I didn't mean to, but I did, yes.
It's there. Don't worry about it. Nate, the moment that you received your baggy green?
For me, it was Greg Chappell. Sorry, I couldn't hear you there. So sorry, Pat. I can tell about Pat, so if you want. But yeah, Greg Chappell gave my baggy green at Gaul in Sri Lanka. So that was mine. It was pretty special debut.
And Pat, who presented yours?
For me, it was Ricky Ponting. So he was, I actually think he was double my age at that stage. He was 36 and I was 18. Been following him my whole life. And yeah, incredible honour. I just remember getting that baggy green and thinking, oh, no one can take this off me now. It's mine.
The next question is for Pat and for Nathan. It's from Ashwin. What's your favourite place to bowl in Australia and abroad? And don't worry, Midge, I'm going to come back to you on wicket keeping in a minute. Nath, favourite place to bowl in Australia and abroad?
That's a hard one in Australia. I love pretty well everywhere in Australia, especially obviously home here at SCG. But I love Adelaide Oval. I think the wicket down there is probably up there with the best going around the world, but I really enjoy the Gabba as well. So 3 very different surfaces, but around overseas it's hard to go past Lords just with the history. But there's a couple of nice places in India that I've been able to have a little bit of success at as well. So yeah, there's a few there.
He likes all of them.
Yeah, I know there was a fair list there, wasn't there? And when you're bowling at Lords, what end?
For me, it's the opposite end from the pavilion to try and spin up the slope.
Pat, favourite one in Australia? Please try and narrow it down from the 64 that Nate's given us.
I'll try. Adelaide Oval is great. Love that. I'd probably say where I've had the most success is MCG. So I'm going to say that. In Australia, overseas, Lords to play at is an amazing experience, but as a fast bowler, the Wanderers in South Africa, I've quite enjoyed bowling at.
And is that because it's at altitude too, and they speak about the air being a little bit thinner so the ball gets through a bit quicker?
Yeah, perhaps. I think it's just got a really nice wicket. It's fast, it's bouncy, it's had a bit in it, swings around a bit, so it's not too often you get those kind of wickets.
Okay, and you're not going to miss out here, Midge. Let's talk batting. Favourite ground to bat on in Australia and abroad?
I really should have known this question was coming, but I'm not prepared. Look, in Australia, I'm going to go boutique, and I love North Sydney Oval. I think that's the best place to bat in Sydney, for me anyway, short boundaries. Overseas, look, if I could wrap up that wicket in Baroda, I think, and take it wherever I could,
yes.
which is a left field option, but it was still one of the best wickets I've played on, and to make a few runs on it was nice too.
I was lucky enough, and that's one of the joys, I guess, of being a commentator. You get to see some pretty special moments in people's careers. For me, that was probably one of the best innings I think I've seen you play in Baroda. It was your debut 100 in an ODI as well. It looked as if it was a tough wicket to start with, probably up into the 40s, correct me if I'm wrong, and then all of a sudden things just started to click. It was searingly hot. It would have been mid-40s, it was dry, it was unbelievable. Do you put that down as one of your best innings?
Yeah, I think from a purely grindy sort of way, yeah, you're right. It wasn't easy. It was a real grind out there. I think, the West Indies last year was sort of felt like a better 100. But look, to grind your way there, I never thought I'd make 100 in international cricket. So to just grind it out and get there finally was nice. But yeah, we did have a nice wicket to play on, which was good.
Okay, we're almost out of time, so we've got one more question here from Matthew in Byron Bay. I'm going to add a little bit to this one here. I hope you don't mind, Matthew, but it is, tell us about your cricket journey from a young age, but I'd also like to get who's helped you along the way. I know there'd be a variety of different people, whether it's family, friends, coaches, teammates. So just a couple of key points along your cricketing journey and someone that's helped you along the way, and that probably will almost see us out here. So, Pat, we might start with you.
Yeah, there's so many coaches. Probably the best coach as a kid is just Dad. He always, kept us technically okay if we had a problem. But the biggest learning from him I got was just, how you need to try your best, but it's just a game. It doesn't really matter if you do well or poorly. Play it the right way. Enjoy it. Always try and get better. But yeah, what he taught me. I remember making my debut for Australia, and he sent me a message that morning saying, "Who cares if you go none for 200 or take 6 for? You're playing for Australia. How good does it get?" So he stayed like that for however old I am. So I'll say him.
What's the end goal?
I'll ignore Lino there.
Ignore him. Yep. He went fishing the other day. He was just talking about how big a catch he got.
Yeah, the end goal is, we're lucky, the three of us, that we're playing, for our country, which is for cricket, that's the highest honour. So the end goal is just to try and stay here for as long as I can. I mentioned, Ashes and World Cups and these amazing things that when you think of the most successful players and the players that I idolise, they had great success in those kind of tournaments. So hopefully I'm around for another 10 years playing in all those things and contributing some good wins.
10 years, that's a lot of warm-ups.
Yeah. Us too.
Midge, on your cricketing journey, a quick snapshot on who's helped you enjoy it along the way?
Yeah, like Pat said, there's many people that have contributed, but my dad as well, he was the one who took the real interest when I decided to start and threw me 1,000 balls before handballing me onto a batting coach, who he still rings regularly, slamming the technique that he's given me. So it's quite funny. But Chris Matthews is also another one that she's obviously CEO at the Wacker, and she's actually helped me quite a lot along the way. She taught me how to wicket keep at the beginning, and just learn a lot from her off the field as well. So those two people have been really key for me, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far.
Nath, lucky last to wrap things up for us today. Who's helped your enjoyment of the game along your cricketing journey?
It's hard to go past your family, to be honest. I think my older brother, Brendan, and my dad have probably been the two biggest people who I've probably idolised a lot throughout my whole career and the start of my career especially. But my little snapshot of my little journey has been country cricket into ACT cricket, then down to South Australia, now up to here in New South Wales in Sydney. So I've gone to little stepping stones to get to the big smoke here in Sydney. So it's been an enjoyable ride. But yeah, with everyone here, I think the family's probably been your biggest role models. And I know a lot of kids don't listen to parents when you're little, because I know my little two daughters don't listen to a thing that I say. But I think at the end of the day, when you grow up, you realise how important your words from your parents have been. So
I cannot thank the three of you enough for your time here today with HCL and the Inspired series, talking all things the joy of cricket. I think most people sitting back and enjoying this live or re-watching it will certainly get the sense that it's been a wonderful journey for each and every single one of you, from Alyssa Healy, who was going to be a fast bowler, I cannot believe it, to being a wicketkeeper and opening bat for Australia, to someone who had a 14-degree plus kink in their arm and is now, from the sounds of it, stand-up comic career. Maybe Nathan Lyon at the end of this?
Yeah, Carl Barron look-alike, so there's potential.
And to Pat Cummins, who just sat there and took it all from Nathan Lyon for the entire hour. You've done really well, Pat. We'll give you maybe another session in the Inspired series down the track to get back at him.
I hope so.
There we go. To all three of you, thank you so much for joining us. To everyone out there, please stay tuned, because we have more of the Inspired series coming up in future weeks. So stay tuned to find out what we're going to be talking about and who we will have on the show. We've had 6 guests so far that have been absolutely outstanding. I'm sure we'll have more to come. Most importantly, though, over the weeks and months to come, please stay safe, and we'll see you soon.